life is spiritual. Everything about life is spiritual, and I think that our only real goal is to connect with the that aspect of yourself, yes, but find a way to also usher or direct that energy in your life as well. Um, and I think that's all that it is. And the only way to really learn how to direct that energy, and it could be creativity, like it could be that you're figuring out how to turn your creative energy into something tangible, something that brings a certain kind of fulfillment, a certain kind of stability within yourself. Maybe you are wanting, yeah, I mean, basically pretty much that. That's what we're all kind of looking for, is to be as expressive and creative as we can, but also to learn how you can make a genuine living on that. And when I say make a living, it doesn't all only mean finances. It means, make a living, meaning you're enjoying your life. You're enjoying exploring your curiosity in these creative ways, however that may be for you. But I think that the goal, I said one is to have your intention, of course. I mean, you gotta know where you want to go, right? Begin with the end in mind. I will always sing this to you. Begin with the end in mind. Know exactly where you want to go, and then, allow your curiosity in experiencing this future. Allow that curiosity, allow that creativity, that life force to flow in this direction. And I feel like, okay, I was, making some notes. Making some notes about this a bit yesterday and earlier today, but I guess I was thinking a lot about like how to stop being delusional, because it's not working. And I think that when you're in that delusion where you feel like maybe you're scatterbrained, you have a big dream, you have something that is sitting on your heart, something that you feel you should intend towards, but you're scatterbrained. Your mind is thinking about everything and nothing at the same time. Maybe you are very motivated. You have moments where you're very motivated, and then you have moments where you're not. But the problem is every time you're not motivated, you get reset back to square one. And so you're motivated, but you're not committed. And I think I mentioned this a bit earlier, is you're the creative, you're the spiritually gifted, but you're broke. And I don't only mean that you're broke, that you have no money. I mean, yes, that is one. But you can be broke as in you're broken, because while maybe you do make money in another way, you feel like you're wasting your time, even though you're able to generate this income and you're feeling financial stability from the job. I mean, essentially that's what keeps you there, right? But you're slowly deteriorating. You have something sitting on your heart that you would prefer, or you genuinely feel you should intend towards. And I'm saying intend towards because desire is, when you desire something, it also creates the equal opposite of that thing, which is if you desire it, it's obvious that you don't have it. But with intention, you get to have that thing. You give yourself permission to have that thing now. You give yourself permission to have that thing now. That is what an intention is. Very different from a desire. A desire says, I really desire this thing, but it creates the equal opposite that you really don't have this thing too. And sometimes the more we desire something, it can turn into a lower grade of obsession. And we all know that obsession repels the thing we genuinely want. So I think that as a collective, because we did go through like a strong stint of us all focusing on desires, but I think we are evolving to understand that no, what I need is to intend. I need to set an intention. And if I have trouble setting those intentions, then that's where the block is. That's where there's a sort of blind side that needs to be reviewed, because you're not allowing yourself to have that thing now, whatever the thing is. And that's kind of just what I'm thinking. But yeah, so you are the creative, spiritually gifted. You're broke. You're either broke with no money, or you have money but you feel broke inside, like your soul, like you're just on this autopilot, just kind of living, and well, maybe not living, not if you're on autopilot, but you're just kind of on autopilot, and just, you know, allowing your energy to be scattered around that, around maybe social media, around scrolling, around whatever that is whatever is distracting you from having to look at what's actually sitting on your heart. And a lot of that takes being able to be emotionally honest with yourself, which I know can be hard. So if anyone has any kind of challenge with being emotionally honest with themselves, or taking a real look at their blind spots, just subscribe to my email list down below. And yeah, I hope you do book a discovery call and see how I might be able to help you, if that's something that you're interested in. So yeah, the way you kind of get out of this delusion, or the way you channel the delusion in the most appropriate way, because we don't want to get rid of the delusion. You need it. You need to exercise your imagination. You need to figure out, okay, whatever is sitting on my heart, because you want to lead with the heart. You want to lead with the heart. The heart will literally tell you where to go. I think your heart is your magnetic reciprocal to the soul's direction. That is my my perspective of it. And once you have that feeling in your heart, you gotta go into the imagination. You gotta go into the mind. You gotta find images, and pictures and images are the same thing, but images, shapes, you gotta bring life to the feeling sitting on the heart, life of what that looks like. You know what I mean? Because that is where your heart tells your mind what to intend, what to, reticular activating system now, what to find and focus on in this matrix. Because we can all be standing right here, and we can all be looking at, okay, let's put it this way. If there's 3 people sitting here, including myself, three of us, and we're all looking at the same thing, we are all going to see very different things, because we all perceive reality in different ways. But the moment you shift your perspective, you begin to see that the moment I'm like, well, no, if you think like this and this looks like that, now the person's perspective is being shifted and they're beginning to see maybe what I'm seeing. That is your nervous system, a group of nerves in your brain, the reticular activating system, that literally filters your reality. But you're the controller. You have to tell it, well, you are naturally always telling it what to focus on. So the real thing is you have to become aware of what you're focusing on. You have to become aware of what your reality is saying back to you. You know, you got to become aware of that. And once you become aware, then you get clear on, okay, this thing that was sitting in my heart, I've imagined it to look and feel like this. And the two connections coming together, two different language, very same intention. Ooh, that's where the magic is. That's the magic, because that's where you begin to recreate from the inside out. You recreate how you see yourself. You recreate what shows itself in your reality. And this is probably what I'm going to talk about at the Repaired Nations Cooperative conference happening on Monday. But I digress. So I wrote down, you have to create the channel. That channel is your SOPs. I remember working at, my very first, not my very first job, because I've worked since I was like 15 or 16. I've worked Harvey's, but the first job out of high school that was the highest paying for me was 18, and I've told you guys this story before. I was working in the fraud department at President's Choice MasterCard, doing great, making really great money. And one thing was, they were always like, you gotta follow the SOPs, the standard operating procedures. As long as you followed the SOPs, you would do perfect. I mean, you would at least have like a B-level average. Just follow the SOPs. What brought me to A-level is I'm always trying to think of ways how to make those SOPs better. Do you understand? I'm always trying to find like ways to refine things, to make things much easier, to have an easier flow. And that's what got me climbing up the ladder, doing really good, becoming, having a leadership role and all the things. But then I remember when I went from President's Choice MasterCard to working at Triple M Metals, and Triple M Metals was a privately owned company. I think there was like a number of families or people that, friends that were together and they owned it. So it was a bit more private, and they had procedures, but things were always coming back like wrong. There were issues. Like there was chaos. There was a lot of chaos because there were no SOPs, okay? What did your girl do? She started making SOPs, okay? And all that did was obviously make them really, like, wow, this is so awesome, because I was like, okay, you know what? This is the way, and I'm going to have to make a better way for anyone who comes behind me, because I don't plan on being in this job forever. So if I'm going to leave my mark, let me find a way to take this chaos and to bring some structure to it. SOPs, SOP stands for Standard Operating Procedures. You got to take that same concept and apply that to your creativity, to apply that to your daily routines. I'm really speaking to your habits here. Become aware of what your current SOPs are, because I'm pretty sure you'll recognize what your habits are, the things you're doing every day, and you're seeing why x plus y is equaling z, right? You're going to understand that. But when you create SOPs, these procedures, they compound into your end in mind. Yes, they compound into your end in mind. I remember I told you, you want to begin with the end in mind, know where you want to go, and you want to give yourself permission to intend that experience in the now. You want to give yourself permission to have that experience in the now. And then you want to create SOPs around that, okay? You want to decide, what are you going to do every single day? And it could be the simplest thing, but this is where it's time for you to decide. You got to decide, okay, how do I want to do this thing every single day, so that way by the ending of the month or whatever, this is the natural flow of energy. It will compound itself and equal to be this. Okay, another really easy way for me to explain this, I think the very first time, I was like maybe 22 or 23 when I started working out. I was definitely out of shape. I was having, some issues. I wouldn't say issues. I was having some imbalances. And when I decided that I wanted to look like this one girl I saw on Instagram, I was like, okay, what do I got to do? At them times it was workout 3 times a week. Okay, what am I doing in those 3 workouts? Okay, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to spend, at that time, it was an hour working out on this day, on that day, and this day. Eventually, I actually hit my goals. This was before I even started doing yoga. But here's something that we don't talk about, because I can tell you to create an SOP, something that you will do every single day that adds up, right? I can tell you to do that. And let me tell you, okay, let me even just tell you what mine looks like. This is like very kind of rough. But when I wake up in the morning, this is why I love living on GMT time, because Eastern Standard Time doesn't exactly, people don't wake up until it's later in the day for me. So I get to spend between 6 a.m. and 12 a.m. That's 4 solid, That's 12 solid hours. Sometimes I don't wake up exactly at 6, but those are my times to do like the spiritual stuff, do my practice, meditation, tune into myself. Sometimes I'll after doing that, I'll start sewing. I get to do something more creative. Those are the things that I focus on. If I was working on something that feels more creative, like I'm using my creative energy, I will do that thing. And then life starts at 12 p.m. for me. Between 12 and 5, I'm replying to emails. I'm working on specific tasks that I don't find to feel creative, like responding to emails and booking somebody in for a speaker's stuff, like admin stuff that I don't like doing. I'm tracking my finances. Like, I have to set a solid time for where I'm willing to do that, where I have the most energy. I feel like I've already nourished my emotional needs, my creative needs, and this is the time that I have, literally just those 5 hours, to focus on that type of stuff. And then between 5 and whenever I go to bed, I'll either listen to an audiobook. This is like my learning. Like, I like to tune in. This is where I might watch a certain YouTube video, like get into some research, or just whatever is where I'm looking to learn something. And I like learning during those times in the evening, because I just feel like I go to bed with that information kind of swirling in my space after I've like calmed my mind, and I feel like I get to absorb that energy more while that knowledge or information more while I'm sleeping. That's what mine looks like today. Now, of course, things may change, give or take, but that's my thing that I do every single day. Every day, life looks something like that. Every single day. And with that setup, it gives way to like how my life is right now, how I live my life right now, what my reality is showing back to me, like living in Ghana and creating some speaking engagements, having time to tune into myself. Like, I feel complete because I've made a day, I've used the day to stimulate the different parts of myself that I need to stimulate. And believe me, that 12 to 5 time, as much as I'm probably, that's like my least favorite state of being to be in, I understand its importance. With that time, I get to continue to structure how I want my energy to flow. Okay? That's my standard operating procedures time. Like, what is to what comes next? Because of course procedures shift, right? Procedures shift. Different things change depending on what you're looking to attract or depending on what you're looking to produce. But the part that I do want to talk about is this learning how to be uncomfortable or feel like you look ridiculous. You got to learn how to do that. You have to learn how to do that, especially as a scatterbrained, as a creative, as someone who may unconsciously create a bunch of distractions to keep you away from what is true and real for you to review and to gain awareness on and to get clear about. You got to start getting uncomfortable and making peace with that and getting used to it. You got to start doing that thing that you said you wouldn't do, but you've been told more times than one that it's an important step to do in order for you to get to whatever you feel like your end result is. Just do the thing. If you're having a hard time doing that thing, that's where you need to sit down and ask yourself, okay, why? Why am I having that hard time? You have to learn how to embody the intention even though it feels icky, okay? Gotta learn how to embody the intention even though it feels icky. If your intention is so here's a personal thing. Prospecting. It feels icky to me, right? Going out there and saying like, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do, and I noticed that this is kind of what I'm noticing or what I'm sensing. If I'm right, I would love to help you. Sometimes doing that feels very icky to me. But if I don't do it, nothing changes, right? I'm never going to get to that reality that I'm intending. It's not going to happen. Like, I might give myself permission in the moment, but are my actions actually in alignment with that thing? If the answer is no, then that's where you want to stop being delusional, okay? Something came up while I was speaking about doing the thing that you said you wouldn't do. Doing that thing that you said you wouldn't, I really hope that wasn't showing up on my lips this whole time, but doing that thing that you said you wouldn't do, you gotta learn how to be uncomfortable with it. You gotta learn how to find peace in that moment in your body, because all it is you trying to protect yourself from a feeling that you may have had when you perceived some sort of a negative, I don't know, action, whatever. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but you have to understand that, okay, I have very strong resistance towards this thing, but let me do it. Let me get uncomfortable. Let me focus my mind and energy, and let me do it slowly. I know, I'm telling you to do it slowly. It's just like yoga. This is why yoga and like maybe lifting weights, I love it because it's uncomfortable. But when you do it slowly, you really tap into the juice of the feeling. And for those of you who actually lift weights or do yoga or do some sort of a physical thing that you have to take your time and do, you know what I'm talking about. There's a certain sense of growth that happens in that moment, and in those uncomfortable moments, like prospecting, you know, where you feel like your higher self, or you're getting this intuitive hunch that you should do this thing and not shut it down, but actually do it even though you're scared, or you know that you have that ick, do it anyway. Give yourself that space to grow. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, once you get to the other side of that ick feeling, just like I explained, you get to that juice spot. Once you get to the other side, you recognize, you get a taste of the result. You get a taste of the result. Going out there, and it's called prospecting, but you know, we don't have to use such intense words. We can just call it putting yourself out there, letting people know who you are and what you do and how you're open and available if they need you. Just being who you say you are. You know what I mean? Like, just doing that, you'll notice how much you receive back, how much the universe starts conspiring in your favor and gives back to you, just because you gave, I was going to say that to it, but let's use real words here, Jamila. Just because you've shown it, universe or God, you've shown God that this is something you are intending, and you're following through with your actions, and you're doing that thing daily, it becomes part of you. And what happens when something becomes part of you? Obviously, that's the embodiment. That's why I'm like, embody the intention, even though it feels icky. Okay? Anyways, I hope this is helpful. I was not planning on getting into all of this right now, but I hope it was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed today's message. I hope you've gotten the message. What I want to say to you is, you're divine, you are beautiful, you are just magical in your own right, and like, dare to tap in, dare to discover yourself, dare to intend, dare to give yourself the permission to intend what sits on your heart, something that you genuinely need to express, or you genuinely feel there is purpose in expressing. You are beautiful, you are divine, and subscribe to my email list, guys. It's the first link down below. Stay in touch, keep in touch, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.